Hello and welcome, everyone. I am joined by the amazing Chanelle Pattinson coming to us live from the UK. Chanelle, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you, Chanelle. And as we were kind of prepping for the show, and I'm always thinking, what do you title things? You've got to come up with a title. And it just hit me suddenly. I was like thinking about you and everything that you have accomplished throughout your short career, everything that's on the horizon for you. I know there's so much yet to come. I was like, the future is bright for young women in financial planning. And I will say, having joined the profession the way I did, I don't know that I felt that way. So you are an inspiration to me. I admire you. I respect you. I love what you're building. So let's dive into your story. And I want to start with when you were younger, what was your impression of financial advisors and this profession before you had any idea you wanted to join?
Yes, of course. And thank you for that very nice intro. I think I messaged you and said, I just love that title. I just thought that's kind of everything I'm striving for and what I'm doing. So I loved it. Financial advising. My dad has been a financial advisor my whole life. I never wanted to be a financial advisor. I thought it was incredibly boring job. And when I was younger, I would always describe his job and say that all he did was drink tea and make money grow. And I said that for a really long time. Honestly, I think until I probably started my exams, I would say that's what he did because it was. And even now, I still
Yeah,
think it's a very, very good description of a financial advisor.
that's funny. So did he know that you told people that?
Yeah, he knew that. I told
And what did
everyone
he
that.
say? Was he like, yeah, that's pretty accurate?
Oh, he loved it because he loves tea. And I think he was happy that I was saying that all the money grows. There was no
Yeah.
there was not a minus in that year. It was always the money was growing and he was drinking tea. So for him, he loved it.
That's fantastic. Growing up, we had, I don't know if you have them in the UK, but they're actually called money trees. And they just have these like really thin white, they're circles, almost like coin shaped. And it's called a money tree. And so I grew up thinking, money grows on trees before I really understood notes and bills and everything. So when you
Yeah.
first said that, I was like, yeah, like he's just out there harvesting and growing money on trees. But he's like growing money, making it more and bigger. But
Yeah.
that's so good. So you thought that, and yet here you are, not only in financial advice, but loving it and whipping through your exams and setting up some amazing stuff for the future of the profession. So, how did that come about?
Yeah. So I said I didn't want to do it. It wasn't for me. I was adamant. I got to 16, did my exams. I went off and did 3 different college courses. I thought, right, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that. And I think everyone was like, oh, what's she doing? She's not really going anywhere with this. And I was a big believer and still am that if something doesn't make you happy, don't do it. And I think
Yep.
a few people were like, oh, you can't always say that. But I just always, it was always in my heart that if it didn't make me happy, I'm not going to do it. So I tried a couple of different
Yeah.
things and I was so young. I was like, I can try all these different things. It'll be fine. So I then got an apprenticeship at ITV in London, which was amazing. And when I quit that job, everyone was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't want to be a PA. Like, it doesn't sit right with me. It's not what I want to do. So I quit there and I went and did theatrical makeup and some other random things. And then my dad just said to
Fun.
me, yeah, honestly, it's so different. But then I decided I didn't want to do that either. So my dad was like, what are you doing? Like, do you want to maybe try an exam and see what you think? See if you like it? And I was thinking, oh, I'm never going to like this. I remember opening the first page and I was thinking, oh, good gosh, like this is
Yeah.
awful. But for some reason, some part of me plowed through, carried on. And this was a real sort of chance of fate that I was working in Debenhams on a makeup counter and I was studying my first exam and this lady came in and she wasn't even on my counter. She was on another counter and I said, oh, do you need any help? I think the lady must have been off. And we got chatting, told her about my exam and she worked for Quilter, which was Old Mutual Wealth, and I was telling her about my exam. She said, oh, do you want to have a job interview? Like, you'll probably get the job and go from there. And I was like, oh my God, that would be amazing. This couldn't be more fate if it tried. So
Yeah.
I interviewed there and did a few of my exams whilst I was there. And then I moved into a power planning role for a few years, because my dad always said to me, he was like, you've got to go out, you've got to get your own experience. He's like, I'll help you with the exams, but you kind of need to find your feet on your own. And then the beginning of last year, I think he must have thought I found my feet, and I'd been on my own for probably 4 years in the industry, and I'd got my level 4. He was like, right, okay, I think it's time. I think you're ready to come in. And to be honest, because I'd been at different companies and I'd done my exams, I came in and I felt like I knew what I was doing. And you could see he felt like I knew what I was doing. So it was definitely a benefit. But I never expected, if you would have asked me 6 years ago if I'd be sat here doing this, I would have said absolutely not.
So maybe a lesson for people that are thinking about entering the profession: go work at a makeup counter in a department store and hope you happen upon someone that offers you a job.
Because you never know.
You never know. I love all those stories, though, of all the different ways that people get in. And that's really fascinating that your dad actually took the opposite approach of my mom. And I got my degree in photography. So also, a totally random way of getting into the profession. And my mom was very clear. She said, look, I don't want you to go to all these other places, because then I'll have to unteach you everything that you learned there to show you how we do it, which I thought was really interesting. But that also goes to show there's no real right and wrong way to do things. 2 + 2 = 4. So does 3 + 1. So as long as you get amazing people that are passionate about the profession, all those different routes can work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now you're in. You, like I said, have been passing your exams. And it's also too funny that your dad's first idea was an exam. Did you like taking exams as a kid? Was that are you a good test taker?
Yeah. Do you know what? Another quite random thing about my career life is when I was in my second to last year at school, I just turned around to my parents and I said, I want to be homeschooled. I don't want to go to school anymore. And they were like, what on earth do you mean you want to be homeschooled? And I was like, I want to be homeschooled. I was like, I'll finish a year early. I said, it'll be fine. Don't worry. And somehow, no idea how they let me do it. They went with me and they were like, okay, fine. You want to give it a go? You want to give it a go? And I took all my exams a year early. I got good grades. And I think they were both a bit like, okay, I think she did mean it. Sort of, she did put her heart and soul into it. And I have, to be fair, always been an exam person. I like doing my study plan and I enjoy it and I thrive off studying and passing. So I think probably if I hadn't have done that, I think people, my dad wouldn't have thought I was such a exam taker. But I think from the homeschooling, he thought this might be the best way for her to give it a go.
I like that. See, he knows your style of learning and what gets you involved in things. Those parents, they're good stuff. So now that you're in, what has your experience been as a young woman in this profession and in the before times, going to conferences and networking events?
Yeah, absolutely. So interesting. So I remember I went to one of my first conferences with my dad, and I think it was probably right at the start of my career. So I was maybe 18, something like that. And at this point, I don't think I'd really decided I would be an advisor. I think I was still in that point where I was taking a few exams, and it seemed like a really long way off at this point. So I went to this conference and I walked in and I was just flabbergasted by the amount of males over 50. And I was really shocked and quite overwhelmed. I don't think I really knew what I expected. I never really thought about it too much. I just sort of thought, all right, off we go. We'll go along to this event. And I think because the only advisor I'd ever known was probably my dad, I never really thought about the fact that maybe they were all similar age and male like my dad. Yeah. So that did take me by surprise. And I did think, is there any other young female advisors? Am I the only one? And I went off and a couple of my exams I did in like a training group, and in those training groups I was the only girl, and I really was thinking, I just feel like I'm the only one. And I did, and it probably wasn't them, it was more so me. But say when I was in the training class, I thought that they were looking at me like, oh, what's she doing here? She can see like it's all boys here. What's she sort of doing? And like I said, it definitely wasn't them, it was more so me. But I think when you're in that position, you just would really, I know I did really like to see another young woman being a financial advisor and knowing that was a possibility. And I honestly don't think I met one in my first 3 years in admin and power planning. I maybe met a couple of female advisors out of probably a good 100 advisors, and
Wow.
I definitely didn't meet any young women advisors. So it just made me think that it's a rarity, and I don't think young women think they can be advisors. And I wanted to speak to some young women advisors and I couldn't really find any. I think maybe I found a couple that I managed to message and sort of say, can I do this? How are you doing? And what are you doing? And please give me some advice. But apart from that, there wasn't a lot out there. So yeah, I think I carried on because of my dad, in all honesty. I think if I didn't have my dad, I don't know if I would be a financial advisor now. I think 'cause it didn't seem, if I didn't have my dad, it wouldn't have seemed such a possibility. But yeah, it's been interesting.
It has. And what I love is meeting amazing people like you that see these challenges and look around and go, I kind of wish something else was here. And then you go and do something about it. So tell us what you launched on International Women's Day, which was just a couple weeks ago?
Yes, so it's something that's been inside my head for quite a long time, and I sort of had this idea and I don't know what I want to do with it, and it's sort of fluttered around and I haven't really made much sense of it or taken it anywhere. But going from all those times that I felt like the only woman in the room and I felt like the only young lady at the table, and the amount of conferences I went to, even conferences that were probably very modern, if you like, I was still the only woman on the table sat there. And like I always like to say, like the guys sat next to me were so lovely, and as part of our job we're very chatty people anyway. Like there was absolutely nothing wrong with sitting at a group with men. It was just would have been nice to have a woman at the table. So from all these sort of thoughts in my head, I thought, what can I do? Is there something I can do to make a change and maybe see a difference in the future? So taking some ideas together, did a bit of brainstorming, things like that, and that came up with the idea of a group. So I'm part of Next Gen, which is an amazing community, I know, as you know. It's an amazing community, and I think I hadn't felt community like that until I joined Next Generation. So that sort of gave me an idea too. So what we've got now is a group within Next Gen, which is for young women under 30 in financial planning. So just somewhere, and it has such a nice reception. So when I got all these young ladies into this group, there was sort of messages, I've always wanted something like this, or this is such a good idea, because it just gives me a chance to sort of speak a bit freely and maybe not feel like such a numpty at times, and I totally, because I've been there, I know that is how you feel. And sort of maybe, for example, put in a post like, I failed this exam 3 times, has anyone got any tips? And rather than putting it in a massive group with maybe loads of people that might have flown through it the first time, I think when you're surrounded by similar people to you, you feel a bit more comfortable about saying those things. And there was loads of comments and loads of people helped, and when I saw things like that, I just thought, this is exactly what I've done this for. And also just the pure fact of knowing there's other young women financial planners, advisors, paraplanners out there. So stemming from that, I've put it out on LinkedIn and sort of shared my idea and stuff like that. And the reception has just been amazing to it. And another podcast I went on, I had probably a handful of young women message me and just say, this is like exactly what I need, or it was so nice listening to you talk about your experiences, because I sat there and nodded the whole way along, because I've been there. And I think when I was telling the story, I again didn't think that there'd maybe been anyone else that's been in that situation, but of course there has. And when people message you and say, I nodded the whole way along, and I felt exactly the same, you think, I'm not the only one. Like, everyone does feel the same. So even if nothing changes right away, I think if I create that space for young women now to chat and support and maybe mentor, things like that, and then going forward it then ends up making a change and bringing more young women in, that would be amazing. Because I want the group to be for women in the industry, but also maybe school leavers or college or university that don't know this is a career. Because I know so many people that I say what I do and they're like, well, what do you mean you're a financial advisor? 1, you definitely don't look like a financial advisor. And 2, is that a real job? And is it a good job? And I'm like, it's a great job. Like, it's a brilliant job, but no one knows. So I think if you can get it out there and show not just young women, but young men and anyone that this is a great career to do, I think that would be amazing. And I would be particularly excited if there was more young women coming into the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. So is the tagline, "We drink tea and make money grow"?
Absolutely, because who wouldn't want to do that? I think
I mean,
that would be
that'll attract all
brilliant.
kinds of great people.
Yeah, I couldn't think of a better job description. I would sign straight up if I saw that.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first conference that I went to, so I must have been 22 at the time and probably looked 18. And the thing is, working with my mother, I actually look a whole lot like her. So when I went to this conference and had the exact same reaction as you of I just didn't dawn on me, I didn't know what to expect. It was a huge conference. I think it was at one of the casinos in Las Vegas. And I walked in and I was like, yep, nobody looks like me. But because I was with my mom, everybody kept, coming up. And I'd already been, I don't know, a whopping 6 months in the profession, but I knew some things. And the amount of people that said, "Oh, you brought your daughter to work today." I was like, oh my goodness. No, I'm
Oh,
here to learn and engage equally in the conversation. And that was just one thing I'll never forget. It must have been like 7 people throughout that day. And that makes it
wow.
hard to think, like I can stand up and really be part of this. And, you did touch on
Exactly.
all the amazing men at the table. And I always, always make a point to say there are so many amazing men. And if I look across my career, sort of aside from my mother, the people that have given me the biggest boost, that have believed in me the most, that have had the biggest impact on, nudging me forward and supporting me have actually been men. And that is so important to continue to acknowledge because I've had conversation with some men that say, look, I feel like everything's kind of pushing them to the side. And it's not about that. It's about exactly what you just said of just having this different space to have different conversations and just have people around you that understand what you're going through. And, I saw a lot of the comments when you launched the community of, people, women over 30 that were like, hey, if there's any way we can support it, because I think you quickly saw we all wish that we had that way back when we were under 30.
No, absolutely. And the amazing thing about that is that all those women that reached out, I've said, okay, maybe you can't be in the group, but you as support would be amazing. Like going forward, I'm thinking like mentors and things like that. And if
Yeah.
chats and live stream them or webinars, anything, I said, just you being involved would be brilliant because it's just another woman that these young women can look at and say, oh, you're a financial advisor, you're doing well, you're chartered, you're whatever, and it's just another woman for them to look up to and potentially maybe mentor. So it was really, really nice to see so many people reach out and say they either would loved it or they'd love to help. That was really nice.
Well, and I also want to acknowledge the huge fact that, you looked around for all those years and you kept thinking, am I the only one like this? How do I find other people? And the fact that you took action and all those women responded with, yes, I was nodding along, also gets into this great characteristic that you have of saying yes to things and diving in and taking action, even when you have no idea what the outcome is going to be.
Yes, I've sort of more so over the last few months. I think I've always been a very laid back person and I'm always very much like, oh, it'll be fine, we'll go for it, not a problem. But the last few months when I've done a couple of live streams and stuff like that. I know we chatted briefly before. Adam from Next Gen sort of said, "Oh, do you want to do this thing?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not? Let's go for it." Sort of not knowing what I'd signed myself up for. And then when it came to it, and it was actually being live streamed, and I had a script, and we were talking to people, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is a bit crazy." But I just went for it. And then afterwards, I was like, that was great. Like, do not get me wrong, I was so nervous, like so nervous. But after you do it, it's such a good feeling. And then you just keep going and you do another one. And in the end, it's absolutely fine. And I say that I still get nervous every time, but you still feel great after you've done it. And I think a lot of people should really just go for it. Just go for it. What's the worst that's going to happen? It will always be great in the end, and you'll probably learn a lot from it, even if it doesn't maybe go to plan. You'll get something out of it either way.
Yeah, that whole idea of what's the worst that can happen, especially in stuff like that, like anything that does
Yeah.
happen, it's probably not going to be that bad. And my biggest one in my life of like, what's the worst that can happen? So I went to uni in Australia. And so I was moving down there. I had a one-way ticket moving to the other side of the world by myself at the age of 18. And I actually didn't have a visa. It had not cleared yet when I got on the airplane in LA. And so my mom sent me off, and I spent that 17-hour flight having no idea if when I was going to land, if they were just going to deport me, send me right back because I didn't have a visa, or I didn't know if the visa was going to come through and I was going to get there. I'm all by myself. I have no friends, no family, long ways away, no smartphones or anything. I was like, I could go there and hate it. I was like, but guess what? That would be a story. Like if I get deported, that's a pretty heck of a story. If I have a miserable time for a couple of weeks, that's a heck of a story. And guess what? It turned out to be the best thing I've ever done. And I try to take that through life and just be like, the worst thing often is just a crazy story that you can tell. And I always listen to people and comedians. I'm like, I want some crazy stories. And the only way you get those is through trying things and being okay with them not going right. But it's also about having that support community. So you mentioned Adam. So that's Adam Owen at Next Gen. And it's the big breakfast that you and Joe Skilton Camacho were hosting. And I watched it. Chanelle, you did so awesome. You were an absolute natural and super engaged. Joe is fantastic. And it's this idea that, Adam and Rohan and the guys at Next Gen are always looking for amazing talent like you and Joe and the dozens or hundreds of other people within the community there. And that's just a note to anybody that's listening, and especially younger people or people that don't feel that they have a voice or feel that in any way they are the only person that is experiencing what they are or feeling what they are. Know that there are people out there like you, Chanelle, like me, like the guys at Next Gen, so many of us that are constantly wanting to find those amazing gems, give you a voice, create shows and opportunities, and use our platforms to amplify that message and bring people together and continue building that community. So just massive kudos to you for saying yes, for jumping in, and look at how inspiring you already are to so many people and bringing them together in a time that they haven't really had that opportunity before.
Thank you. And I think once you find that community, you can't remember what life is like without it. Or you honestly, once you find it and you meet all those people and you have all those connections, it is like a whole nother life. You get this new sort of life that you just feel like you have so much support. It's amazing, and it counts for such a lot. And I think that support is just everything. It really does make a difference to you, to your career, what you do next. It's brilliant.
Yeah. So anyone that doesn't feel like they have a community yet, I've always said the most important thing, no matter what career, profession, hobby, anything you're in, is to find your people. And that makes all the difference in the world. So if you just feel in your gut that you haven't found your people, do whatever you have to go out there and find them. And if that's joining Next Gen in the UK, if that's joining my new IA community in the US, that's joining a dozen of the other amazing communities that I've had the privilege of being a part of over the years, do it. Because like you just said, it's all the difference.
Definitely.
So what is coming up for you, Chanelle? Anything you can tease for us?
Yes, something very exciting. I think I'm only allowed to say a little bit at this point, but it is called We Mean Business, and it's something very exciting that I've been working on with Next Gen, and it will be coming to you guys middle of April. So hopefully over the next week, I'm hoping to give out some announcements and let you all know what it is and what's it going to be. And it's very exciting. I'm very excited. Quite nervous, but very excited. It will be great.
Good. Nerves that you care, so that's a good thing. And it's something that I might know a little bit about, so I fully support it and will be promoting it as well. And it's just so great that you keep finding these opportunities. And thinking about because when you launched the Women Under 30, and I was like, oh man, obviously I'm unfortunately not there anymore. But I was thinking, it's like, are you then going to kick yourself out when you hit 30 and continually just try to find that next person and give them an opportunity to rise up?
Yeah, I haven't really thought about that. I won't say what my age is, but it's a few years off at the moment. But I probably would, because you're moving on, and like you said, you find those new people that may need a new community, and there's always someone out there, and as long as I can help and support and create something that's relevant to me and them, that would just be amazing. And I'm really hoping in I don't know, 5-10 years time, that there will be loads of women in the industry. I will do my very best to try and make sure there are some. And even, I've said before, even if from this group and what I'm doing going forward, if I got 2 young women out of school or college, or maybe they were admin staff and they didn't think they could be an advisor, if I helped them, support them to being an advisor, that would just make me so happy. Even if it was 1, 2, it would make me so happy.
Well, the exponential difference of just affecting one life goes so far, and we don't always pause to realize the impact that that can have. So one is huge. Do you have specific strategies for how to attract people that are in school, or maybe reach out to different areas in addition to just, finance, business, economics?
Not yet. It's still one of those things that I just keep thinking about, and I know that I want. So yeah, I'm not sure yet, but there'll be a way in. Definitely.
Always.
I think always we can get in there somehow. I think once I'm allowed to sort of talk about what's coming soon and the brand and what it is, and I'm hoping just getting it out there and hopefully putting me out there and seeing it as a person and a face, and me talking to them and saying what it is, and hopefully sort of build a relationship with people, even if I don't actually speak to them one-to-one, but showing them there's a face behind the screen and building their confidence and getting it out there. I think once it's got a bit more of a presence, I'm really hoping if I can, and I would quite happily just approach any school and say, hello, can you sort of listen to me and what I have to say, if that's what it takes, or colleges. But I think once people start catching on, I really hope that they will want to get involved, because it's just another career avenue that really is, I feel quite passionate that it is a really amazing job and career. And especially for women, I just feel it's flexible, it's rewarding, you learn so much, but at the same time you build relationships with people. You can earn a really good salary. I just think it's such an amazing career. And I think often a lot of people say they want to be a lawyer, a solicitor, or an investment banker, and it's along the same lines, but I just feel like it's missed, and I don't feel like it's there yet, and I really think it should be. And going to push forward to make sure it's up there on the list of jobs that people might want maybe in 10 years time, when someone's 16 and coming out of school. I really hope that on their list of lawyer, banker, things like that, they might have financial planner.
Well, so much of it is the idea that we need to kind of change that conversation and show that in addition to drinking tea and making money grow, that there is so much more to it, and reaching people in ways that they want to be reached. And that's what I love about the Big Breakfast. In fact, it was, hosted by you and Joe, 2 young up and coming advisors, and it's out there to help change the conversation and change the perception and show how many amazing young people are in this profession and what they're doing. And, you guys have featured so many guests on the show from all different angles. So it's not, just client-facing advisors. You've got consultants and people that do all sorts of different things. So it's also that highlighting how many different areas of the industry and profession, how many different roles are available.
Definitely. And I think, like you said, it's changing that perception. Like, I know going back 5 years, when I think of a financial advisor / planner, I would immediately think of an older male. And I just hope, and by hopefully what we're doing going forward and stuff like that, that will change. And I'm not saying it changed to a young female. I'm just saying it changes to anyone. It's not necessarily straight away an older male. It's anyone. It could just be anybody.
Yeah, it's the pie is getting bigger. We're not changing the type of pie. We're just making a bigger pie that has all the different flavors in it.
Exactly. And I read a book recently that said it's not about pushing the men out. It's nothing like that. It's just it's bringing women in and still having those men and having a different opinion and a different mindset. And 99% of the time that is really beneficial, because the woman might say something that the man has a different mindset on, and it changes the tone, it changes the conversation, and maybe you get a better outcome. So that's what it is. And I think it would be really beneficial for the industry, for the companies, things like that, to have more of a mix.
Yeah, wonderful. So what would you tell a young woman listening that maybe has heard about financial advice, maybe isn't totally clear what it was or what it can be? What would you tell her to encourage her to try it out and come on in?
I would say, firstly, you can do it. It always feels a bit cringy when I say it, but when I was starting out, that's what I needed to hear. I needed someone to say, you can definitely be a financial advisor and you would be a great one. I think also to tell them that it's an amazing job. Like, I really do love it. And also, everyone I speak to really does love it. Just the combination of the job role is brilliant, and you can totally do it. And go do it and come speak to me, because I'll tell you again, you can do it.
Good. I love it. Well, Chanelle, we'll keep an eye out for all the details on We Mean Business. Can't wait to support you in that. And again, you've got so much more coming up in your bright future and everything that you're building for a very bright future for all of the young women to follow.
Thank you very much. That means a lot.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, final words of wisdom?
No, just thank you, really. And again, you can do it. And if anyone wants a chat, the virtual coffee, my LinkedIn door is always open.
Fantastic. And I'll link to that in the show notes. I'll put this up on the website probably tomorrow and link to your LinkedIn and everything there, but they can also just pop on and find you. So Chanelle, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. It's been amazing.